Hello and welcome to this FPL Game Week 9 5 Lessons Learned video from me, Holly Shand. I wanted to jump on with it being the international break and just have a look at some of the stats from the opening game weeks of the season, which will really help with our transfer plans and wildcard teams from Game Week 9 onwards. And all of the data in this video is powered by Fantasy Football Hub. Check out the link in the description to get 30% off and win your mini league or your money back. If you're new around here, give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. Let's get into it. So the first thing I wanted to look at today was goal involvement so far this season. And as we know, Haaland reigns supreme. 12 goal involvement so far, really sensational start to the season from him. But it's important that we look further down that list as well, because in second, we've got Harry Kane, who has provided some consistency, but when you see other forwards in the list not far behind him, it does make you question the value that he is providing in the game so far, despite the consistency in his returns. Remember, we've had 7 game weeks of action now. 5 players have managed at least 7 attacking returns, averaging 1 per game week. But the player I really want to talk about in this section is Manchester City's Kevin De Bruyne, who has 7 goal involvements himself, 1 goal and 6 assists. Now, the key thing to note here is that Haaland is the most owned player in the game, over 80% ownership, likely to be the most captained, very much so for most game weeks of the season. If you just own Haaland from the Manchester City attack and you captain him and he delivers, you're not going to see significant green arrows. You need to own him, of course, because he's sensational. But when it comes to getting an edge over your rivals, I think pairing Haaland with Kevin De Bruyne is a really important strategy for the next phase of the season, because he's providing an attacking return per game week. His FPL output has increased due to Haaland's presence in the team and the way that Manchester City are playing to accommodate and really get the best from Haaland. So if you captain Haaland every week and you also have Kevin De Bruyne, then when Manchester City inevitably score a hatful of goals every game, you are going to see those green arrows, because you've got that differential in there of owning Kevin De Bruyne as well. Now, granted, Kevin De Bruyne's ownership is quickly increasing, but is nowhere near Haaland's level, and the combination is certainly still a bit of a differential in FPL. So for anyone that's maybe looking to move about their premiums this week or wondering who to go with as their second premium on wildcard, for me, Kevin De Bruyne is the obvious place to look. Now, unfortunately, we are going to see Haaland featuring a lot in this video, just down to how well he's performed at the start of the season. And, you know, the fact he's dominating across all metrics just goes to show how good he is as an FPL asset and how that may continue, because the underlying numbers are there as well. But I'm looking now at expected goals per 90 minutes so far this season, and this is an interesting one. So Haaland is the only player whose goal threat he's kind of averaging, in terms of his goal threat, over 1 goal per game. But then you look further down this list, obviously there's those familiar faces in there among the forwards, Mitrovic, Kane, Gabriel Jesus as well. But Wilf Zaha is in there as well. He makes the top 5. He wouldn't necessarily get in the top 5 for XG if we didn't filter it per 90, but he has, you know, missed a couple of games this season through postponements and a game through injury, but 0.65 XG per 90. Crystal Palace about to embark on a really nice run of fixtures. I think Zaha could be a very good asset in FPL over the next few weeks. He is the talisman of the Crystal Palace side. He's also on penalties. So if you're looking for midfielders, it is a position that we've maybe struggled with a little bit this season for a change. Last season, we kind of wanted to own 10 midfielders and no forwards. This season, when wondering where to spend the funds in the midfield, Zaha, for his goal threat as a midfielder, he's the top performing one so far this season, even though Crystal Palace have had tricky fixtures. And he may be one that might have slipped under the radar due to the fact that Palace haven't played for a few weeks now in FPL, but certainly Game Week 9 onwards, it's the time to get him in. Don't be concerned that Crystal Palace played Chelsea in game week 9. I don't think that's an issue. We've not seen enough consistency from the Chelsea defence so far this season. We know how Zaha enjoys to play against teams that are attacking, because while those teams go out to attack, it does leave space for him to exploit. So if you're umming and ahhing on Zaha on a wild card or as a transfer in, get it done for game week 9, you won't regret it. Now, the other important lesson that we've learned this season is that forwards are back in FPL. Last season, a lot of us had just one forward in our team just because we had to play a forward. We would have liked to go with like a goalkeeper and then a 5-5-0 formation. However, forwards are back in FPL. If you're not on 3 forwards at the moment, you need to do something to rectify the situation, because the optimal formation is with 3 up top. So whether that be upgrading a dud forward, finding funds from elsewhere, or on a wild card going with that 3 up top, that's something that we really need to know. If we look at the top 5 players for big chances so far in the opening game weeks of the season, there are 5 forwards that are averaging at least one big chance per game. They are Haaland, Mitrovic, Kane, Toney and Jesus. Now, deciding which of those to go for is a little bit trickier, but for me, Haaland obviously is a must-have. When you compare Kane's price with the other 3 names in the frame there, it does get quite difficult to justify the funds on Kane, especially going back to what I've already talked about in terms of doubling up on the Man City attack with De Bruyne and Haaland. Then affording Kane is a bit tricky. And why do you need to when you look at the consistency from the mid-priced forwards? Personally, for me, I think Mitrovic is a must-have at the moment because of the amount of goals he scored so far this season. And we know that he's kind of carrying on that form that we saw in the Championship last season, where he scored 43 goals in 44 games. He's averaging a similar level of returns in the Premier League. We didn't think he'd manage to step it up and do that in the Premier League, but he's had a fantastic start to the season, and given Fulham's fixtures, they've been really, really tough. So he's managed to excel in the tricky fixtures, and we have now seen that with the fixtures turning for Fulham, now is definitely the time to get on board if you haven't already. There was a little bit of an injury scare over the international break, but he did score a hat-trick for Serbia. There was rumours he was injured. I don't think that is anything. He said in his post-match interview that he will be available for their next fixture over the international break, so do not worry about that. Mitrovic is kind of the second forward to go with right now. That third slot, I mean, Gabriel Jesus' ownership is scary still. He hit 80% at the start of the season. He's gone down a little bit now. It's kind of between Toney and Jesus for me right now. And Alexander Isak, unfortunately, is now no longer in the frame because of him picking up an injury in the international break. Personally, for me, there's not a lot to split them on stats, so you might as well look at the fixtures, and Brentford do have by far the easier fixture run. I know Arsenal are maybe the better attack, but, you know, Brentford have scored plenty of goals so far this season as well. So I'm on Toney over Gabriel Jesus at the moment, purely on the fixtures. Now, when it comes to defenders, it's been quite a tricky position this season. We started off big at the back. We've gradually been taking funds out of our defences. If you're on a wild card, you may really be quite confused still on which defenders to go for. So I've had a look at their attacking potential. Now, I wanted to look at goal involvements, but the sample size is just too small. So I've had a look at expected goal involvements by defenders over the opening 8 game weeks of the season. And right now, Neco Williams is top of the list. Obviously, Nottingham Forest are not a team that are keeping clean sheets right now. But for a defender that's priced at just 4.1 million, he's a no-brainer to get in your team, because even though he's not really excelled with the attacking returns so far, only 1 assist, he's certainly underperformed, and attacking returns will be coming for him. Now, in terms of the premium defenders that are delivering, Reece James and Trent Alexander-Arnold are the 2 that have got into the top 5. Right now, I think Reece James is a really good pick for those on wildcard or just making a transfer in defensive lines at the moment, particularly with injuries elsewhere, Arsenal's fixtures turning. Chelsea have got a nice run of fixtures, and certainly under Graham Potter, I don't think James's attacking return is going to be dented. In fact, I think we're going to consistently see him at wing-back now. We've seen Potter adopt that wing-back system the same as Tuchel. There was concern under Tuchel that he was kind of playing as a right centre-back sometimes because he was being protected. I mean, we may see more injuries because we know he's a player with a high injury rate, but at least Potter is going to be having him in the best position. So right now, Reece James is my go-to defender, but some other interesting names in the frame. Diogo Dalot has done really well at Manchester United. Remember that Manchester United didn't have the best start to the season, but they've started to find some form now. We may see some clean sheets coming. 2 clean sheets so far this season and attacking returns for Dalot. If you want to get involved in that defence, he is a great budget option. Rico Henry as well at Brentford is also looking very good in terms of his underlying numbers for being able to get involved in goals and assists this season. Final thing I wanted to do then was look at the creativity of players. So I've looked at chances created over the opening 8 game weeks. Remember, we've only had 7 fixtures in there, of course, less for some side. Kevin De Bruyne leads the way. It just goes to show you, how important he is in terms of that Manchester City team and how that double up with Haaland can really deliver. But the player I wanted to focus on here is the man in second place, Mo Salah. A lot of discussion for wildcarders this week, Mo Salah or no Salah. Well, I mean, the creativity numbers are encouraging, but we need to kind of look at the bigger picture here. So on average last season per 90, he was creating 2.02 chances per game. This season, that's up to 4 chances per game. So a small sample size granted, but it's kind of doubled the amount of chances he's created. And he should have come away with more assists. He's got an XA of 1.76. So a little bit of thought needs to go into those numbers. But the concern for me is that we have had big changes at Liverpool. We have had a lot of injuries to start the season, but Mane has been a big loss in their attack. He's been a big player to replace. We've seen, Klopp go with a number 9 at some points with Darwin Núñez. Salah has been a little bit more isolated on the wing. And right now, he's the talisman of the team, and he should be the player that's scoring the most goals for them this season, as he has done in the last few seasons. But that change in the formation a little bit and that different role for Salah, becoming a creator, there isn't the person in there, in that attack, beyond Salah that's going to get 20 goals a season. So when you compare Salah and De Bruyne side by side, while their creative numbers are very similar, De Bruyne is playing with Haaland, who is more than capable of scoring 20 goals this season. He's already halfway there. Salah is playing with the likes of Núñez, Firmino, Jota, Diaz. None of those players, I'd be highly surprised if any of them managed 20 goals per season. So while Salah is looking creative, certainly in open play, he hasn't got the personnel around him to score the goals because he is the lethal goal scorer in that team. So anyone wavering between De Bruyne and Salah, which premium to go for on midfield, which one to go for on wildcard, I think it's fairly obvious now that De Bruyne is the better pick of the two of them. If you've got any dilemmas then about your own transfers in or wildcard, do get in the comments. I'll do my best to answer all of them. I certainly answer all questions that come in within 24 hours of the video being released, so don't be afraid to drop them in there. All of the stats in today's video have been powered by Fantasy Football Hub. Look at the link down below to get 30% off your membership, win your mini league or your money back. I'll be back on Thursday with the Game Week 9 preview and then live stream on Friday. Thanks so much for supporting the channel. If you are new around here, please give this video a like. Let's try and smash 500 likes on it. Subscribe to the channel as well and hit that notify button so you know whenever I go live. I'll see you again soon.